My name is Bonnie Rambert. I'm 28 years old, and I used to believe I understood what loyalty looked like. 5 years with someone teaches you their rhythms, their patterns, their shadows. Or at least I thought it did until the night everything shifted beneath me like a floorboard snapping. The bass inside Vortex pulsed like a second heartbeat, one I never wanted. Tessa Morgan loved this place. Neon lights dripping down, exposed brick bodies, pressed so tightly together, it looked like a single breathing organism. She swore it had a vibe, and Daniel always agreed with her. He and Tessa had known each other long before me bonded, by chaotic nights and louder personalities. I tolerated her because I loved him, or maybe I tolerated her because I didn't want to seem insecure. Funny looking back how insecurity was the weapon ultimately used against me. I hated clubs. Always had. But Daniel wanted to come because Tessa insisted she had big news and needed him there. So I tagged along, letting him disappear into their shared nostalgia while I played the understanding girlfriend. I held his jacket draped over my arm, not his purse, but close enough while he stepped aside to take a work call. He mouthed 2 minutes smiling at me, like I was still his entire world. 2 minutes became 10. Around me, strangers moved like currents in a dark river. I craned my neck trying to find Daniel's familiar profile. The longer I looked, the more I felt something cold blooming along my spine, intuition or paranoia, I still don't know. But it pushed me forward. I slipped through the crowd, weaving around elbows, spilled drinks, and flashes of strobe light. Near the restrooms, in a narrow hallway lined with 2 bright LEDs, I spotted him. Daniel wasn't alone. Kylie was leaning into him, her arm braced above his head against the wall. I recognized her instantly. Tessa had pointed her out earlier with a playful smirk, Daniel's ex-girlfriend. The one she claimed was harmless, and so over him. She was the bar back tonight, all messy blonde hair, dark eyeliner, and the kind of confidence that came from knowing people still talked about you. She dipped her head slow and deliberate, and her lips brushed the side of Daniel's neck. Not a friendly kiss, not accidental, not something my boyfriend should have ever allowed. Daniel froze for a fraction of a second, barely long enough for me to see surprise flicker across his face before he stepped back. But the damage was done. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. Beside them, Tessa watched with an expression I couldn't decipher. Not shock, not concern. Something colder, intentional. My feet carried me toward them before my mind fully caught up. The noise of the bar fell away into a muted roar, like someone stuffed cotton into my ears. Daniel. He jerked his head up, eyes wide when he saw me. For the briefest moment, something like guilt flashed in them. But it vanished the second Tessa moved closer. What Daniel said too sharply. "Bonnie, what are you doing?" "What am I doing?" My voice stayed steady, shockingly so. What was that? Kylie just smirked, biting her lip as she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "Oh my God," Tessa groaned, rolling her eyes dramatically. "Here we go. Bonnie, please don't make a scene." The classic line. The nuclear kill switch. They wanted me to fold to shrink to make myself small enough to ignore the betrayal still glistening on Daniel's skin. "I'm not making a scene," I said. "I'm asking why your ex-girlfriend just kissed you." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck, already defensive. "It wasn't like that. She was joking around." "A joke," I stared at him. "She put her mouth on you." "You're being dramatic," he snapped. "Seriously, Bonnie. It meant nothing." Nothing. 5 years of shared holidays moving in together, planning vacations, discussing future kids, nothing was the word he chose. "You're ruining the night," Tessa added, stepping between us. Kylie was just being playful. "Daniel didn't do anything wrong. You're always so wound up." "Wound up," I repeated. "Right." Kylie brushed past Daniel, sending a pointed look my way. "He's fun," she murmured. "Some people can't handle that." That one stung not because it was true, but because Daniel didn't correct her. He didn't defend me. Not even a flinch of disagreement. Daniel glanced towards the bar where Tessa and Kylie were already moving back to their crew. Then he looked at me, and I saw it happen, the split-second decision. The choice. "I'm going with them," he said quietly, eyes hardening in a way I'd never seen before. "I don't need this energy tonight." This energy. Me. I was this energy. Something inside me went eerily still. The panic, the heartbreak, none of it came. Only clarity. Cold, smooth, sharp, like a blade finally pulled from its sheath. "Okay," I said. Daniel blinked. He expected tears fury, begging some kind of dramatic reaction so he could blame it on me later. But I just stepped aside and let him walk past me. He didn't look back. Tessa wrapped her arm around his waist, triumphant, her lips close to his ear, as they disappeared into the crowd. Kylie lingered for a moment, giving me a small, satisfied smirk before following. And then I was alone in the neon-lit hallway. The bass thumping through the walls, strangers brushing past me without noticing, they stepped through the ruins of a 5-year relationship. I walked outside. The night air hit my face like a baptism. Clean, freezing, honest. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I walked home with the kind of certainty that only comes after someone shows you exactly who they are. I unlocked our apartment my apartment now, and everything inside felt haunted. Shared blankets, his cologne lingering in the air, a photo of us smiling on the fridge like nothing had ever gone wrong. Maybe I should have screamed. Maybe I should have fallen apart. Instead, I took a single deep breath and whispered into the silent room, "This ends tonight." And with that clarity, I went to the hall closet, pulled out the unused moving boxes, and began taking my life back, one folded piece of his clothing at a time. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, his shirt still hanging neatly in the closet, his watch resting on the dresser, his cologne bottle tipped slightly to the side like he had rushed out earlier and planned to return. The lie of permanence. I didn't let myself hesitate. Hesitation was where doubt lived, and I had finally run out of room for doubt. I grabbed the first stack of moving boxes, brown cardboard, sharp corners, the same boxes Daniel and I had used 5 years ago when we moved into this apartment as a bright, hopeful couple who thought love was enough to protect us from everything. From people like Tessa, from ghosts like Kylie, from the ugly parts of each other we refused to acknowledge. I set the first box on the floor in the living room, then another, and another, 4 in total, enough to erase him. The apartment felt too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, not yet, but the kind that makes your pulse sound loud in your own ears, the kind that amplifies truth. I opened the closet. His clothes were organized by color, something I used to find endearing proof of his attention to detail. Now it irritated me. He had the energy to color coordinate shirts, but never the energy to reassure me when Tessa dug her claws in deeper. He could remember which tie matched which suit, but he couldn't remember to put boundaries between himself and a woman he used to date. Fabric was just fabric now, memories cut from emotional gravity. I grabbed handfuls of shirts, jackets, hoodies, threw them into the first box with mechanical precision. No holding things up to my face, no smelling for something familiar, no lingering on sentimental pieces like the sweater he wore the night he first told me he loved me. That man didn't exist anymore. His drawers were next. Socks rolled into pairs. Crewneck tees folded with military neatness. Expensive grooming products he insisted made him feel put together. The watch I bought him for our anniversary, a gift he promised he'd cherish. I placed it in a smaller box inside the main one. Not because I cared, but because I wasn't going to be the person who destroyed things out of spite. Destruction wasn't necessary. The truth was destructive enough all on its own. The apartment echoed as I moved through it, every step making the place feel more mine and less ours. The framed photo of us at his sister's wedding sat on the living room shelf. His arm was around my waist. My head rested on his shoulder. We were smiling at the camera like we couldn't imagine a future without each other. I turned the frame face down without a second thought. I didn't want to pack memories. I wanted to pack evidence. Evidence of a relationship that no longer belonged to me. When I reached his nightstand, I found something that made my breath catch, not with sadness, but with a cold, startling recognition. The bracelet Tessa gave him last year for his birthday. A woven leather band with a silver clasp. Nothing extravagant, but too intimate to be innocent. He insisted it was just a friendly gift. He wore it more often than anything I'd ever given him. It sat there coiled like a snake. I tossed it into the box without hesitation. As I continued packing, I noticed something shifting inside me. Not anger, not heartbreak, but detachment. A clean break where emotion had once been tangled. He had made his choice in the hallway at Vortex. I was simply responding. When the fourth box was finally filled, sealed, and stacked near the front door, the apartment felt lighter, almost hollow. A house that had exhaled. I checked the time. Past midnight. Too late to call anyone. Too late for him to come home, though. Part of me suspected he would show up eventually smelling like stale liquor and regret. I wasn't going to wait for that. I dialed the locksmith. A man with a gravel-rough voice answered on the second ring. "Midnight emergency, huh?" he said. "Break up or break in?" "Break up," I replied. "Permanent." He let out a soft, understanding laugh. "On my way." He arrived 20 minutes later, a large man with worn hands and eyes that recognized heartbreak when he saw it. His gaze flicked from the boxes to my expression. "You sure?" he asked gently. "Yes." The drilling started sharp, final metallic. Every turn of the tool stripped away the last remnants of Daniel's access to me. The locksmith replaced the deadbolt, tested the latch twice, and handed me 3 new keys. "Fresh start," he said. Fresh. Yes. Finally. I paid him, thanked him, and closed the door on the last stranger I'd allow inside my life for a long time. The click of the new lock sliding into place sent an unexpected shiver through me. Relief. Power. A reclaiming I never knew I needed. I showered, letting the steam loosen the tension in my muscles. I washed Daniel off my skin, his scent, his touch, his neglect. I stood there long after the water went lukewarm, watching it swirl down the drain like everything I'd been holding on to. When I stepped out wrapped in a towel, the apartment felt different. Not empty, clear. My bed looked bigger without Daniel's presence crowding the space. For the first time in months, I stretched out across the entire mattress. I expected loneliness to hit me. Instead, I felt something close to peace. I slept hard and dreamlessly. The next evening, I was in the kitchen, meal prepping something simple, chicken and rice, when I heard it. The unmistakable sound of his footsteps in the hallway. Slow, hesitant, familiar. Then the jingle of metal. Then confusion. Then the scrape of a key failing to turn. I didn't move. Another attempt, a frustrated exhale. Then knocking, sharp, impatient. "Bonnie, what the hell? My key's not working." I leaned against the counter, listening. The chicken sizzled quietly in the pan, a sharp contrast to his rising panic. More knocking. Bonnie opened the door. This isn't funny. Funny. He still thought he was the center of the story. Of my story. I walked toward the door. I didn't open it. I just placed my palm flat against the wood and spoke with quiet finality. "It's not your home anymore, Daniel." Silence. A stunned, breath-held silence. Then Bonnie. "What are you talking about?" "Open the door." "Seriously. You made your choice last night." His voice softened instantly, too practiced, too familiar. "Come on, baby. I had too much to drink. It didn't mean anything." I said nothing. "That girl Kylie, she was being weird. Tessa was hyping her up. You know how they get. Just open the door and we'll talk." Still nothing. His tone snapped into anger. Bonnie opened the damn door. I didn't bother responding. I walked back to the kitchen, lifted the pan, and continued seasoning the chicken, while his voice cracked from the other side of the door. The power shift was seismic. He felt it. I felt it. He wasn't calling the shots anymore. And this time, I wasn't going to save him from the consequences he created. His knocking didn't stop. If anything, it grew more frantic, like he expected the door to cave under the force of his insistence, the same way I used to cave to his apologies, his explanations, his soft promises. But Wood was stronger than good intentions, and tonight so was I. "Bonnie, I swear to God, open the door." His voice cracked on the last word, the edge of desperation bleeding through the anger. I didn't rush. I finished stirring the rice, set the lid back on the pot, wiped my hands on a towel, and only then walked back to the door. I didn't open it. Instead, I leaned my weight against it, the cool wood grounding me. "Your things are here," I said. "Tell me when you want to pick them up. I'll leave them in the hallway." A beat of shocked silence. Like he couldn't fathom a universe where I was the one ending the conversation. "Then you're being crazy." A classic. The final refuge of a man losing control. Last night was nothing. Kylie was drunk. Tessa was being Tessa. You know how they are. Why are you blowing this out of proportion? I closed my eyes, letting the lie wash over me without sinking in. "Daniel," I said quietly, "I watched her kiss you." She wasn't Bonnie, come on. She barely touched me." "So she did touch you." He stumbled over the words, the first crack in his armor. "That's not the point," he snapped. "You're twisting things." I almost laughed. Almost. The pounding resumed. "Open the door." "We're not doing this like children." I didn't bother answering. The silence itself became a weapon, one he had no defense against. I heard him curse low and bitter, followed by 3 heavy thuds as he hit the side of his fist against the doorframe. And then my phone buzzed on the counter. Once, twice, over and over. I walked back to the kitchen and picked it up. Daniel, 7:14 p.m. "Bonnie, please, I'm sorry, I just want to talk." Daniel, 7:17 p.m. She kissed me. I didn't kiss her back. I froze. That's all. Please believe me. Daniel, 7:25 p.m. Kylie left me at her place this morning. Won't answer my texts. Tessa said she was being dramatic, and they all went somewhere else after I fell asleep on her couch. I don't even know what happened. There it was. The real message beneath the words. He wasn't apologizing because he hurt me. He was apologizing because they had hurt him. Vortex wasn't a betrayal. It was simply the beginning of his humiliation. Another text buzzed through. Daniel, 7:35 p.m. I messed up. I know. Just let me in so we can figure it out. You always help me figure things out. My breath stilled. No, not anymore. I put the phone face down. Outside the door, his pacing grew uneven the way it always did when panic dug claws into him. A sound followed one I'd never heard from him. Not in 5 years. A shaky breath. The beginning of a sob he tried to swallow but couldn't contain. Bonnie, please. 3 simple words, shredded at the edges. My body moved before my heart could interrupt. I walked to the door, turned the lock, opened it. He stood there like a ghost of the man I once loved. Rumpled shirt hair, disheveled, red eyes that avoided mine at first, and then clung to my face with desperate intensity. The hallway light behind him made him look smaller somehow, depleted. Thank God he breathed, trying to step inside. I lifted my hand, stopping him. You're not coming in. His expression collapsed into confusion. Bonnie, what? Why? Because this isn't your home anymore. He blinked rapidly as if trying to clear dust from his vision, but I apologized. That's not enough. A flicker of anger flashed across his face, quick and reflexive. You're overreacting. I'm done reacting, I said. That's the difference. He stared at me like I had hit him. Then he leaned against the wall, exhaling roughly. You're really doing this, he said hoarsely. After everything we've been through, 5 years, Bonnie. You walked away from those 5 years the second you let Kylie put her mouth on you. She caught me off guard, and you didn't step away. A muscle in his jaw twitched. It didn't mean anything. That's the problem. You don't understand the weight of what you did. His eyes filled with something sharp fear or recognition I couldn't tell. I stepped aside and pulled the first box toward the doorway. The cardboard scraped against the floor, echoing through the silent hallway. Daniel stared at it like it was a coffin. What are you doing? His voice rose unsteady. Bonnie, stop, please stop. I set the box down at his feet. This is your life now. He made a low, wounded sound. Bonnie, don't do this. He swallowed hard. I need you. The truth spilled out of him, not love, not remorse, but need. The need for me to stabilize him. For me to be the net under every fall he caused himself. I went back inside for the second box. He followed me with his voice. We can go to therapy, he said desperately. I'll set boundaries with Tessa. I'll block Kylie. I'll do anything. Just don't throw this away. I placed the second box on top of the first. You don't love me, I said softly. You love the version of me that saves you from your own messes. That's not true. Yes, it is. I turned back for the third box. His voice cracked as he spoke. You owe me, Bonnie. We built a life together. I gave you everything. I froze mid-step, then looked him directly in the eyes for the first time since opening the door. You didn't give me everything, I said quietly. You took everything and called it effort. He recoiled like the words had physically struck him. His breathing hitched, uneven, shattered around the edges. For a moment, I saw the boyish fear beneath the anger, the part of him that always expected me to fix things. But I wasn't his fixer anymore. The third box joined the stack. Only one remained. The final one. The one with sentimental items. The leather-bound notebook where he wrote me letters during our first year together, the box of ticket stubs, the necklace he bought me on our anniversary, but I hadn't worn in over a year because Tessa made fun of it. I lifted it carefully and walked back toward the doorway. Daniel's shoulders slumped. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor beside his boxes, hands on his head, heartbreak pouring out of him in raw, ugly sobs. It should have hurt. It should have broken me. Instead, it felt like watching rain hit a window you're safely behind, visible loud, but no longer reaching you. I set the final box beside him. He looked up, eyes, swollen voice, a broken whisper. So this is it? Yes, I said, this is it. Daniel sat slumped on the hallway floor, surrounded by the 4 cardboard boxes that held the remnants of our life together. His breathing was uneven, eyes, swollen shoulders curled inward like he was trying to shield himself from a blow that had already landed. I stood above him, the final box still warm in my hands, from where I'd carried it against my chest. For a long moment, we didn't speak. The silence stretched heavy and full like the ending of a movie where only the credits are left. When I set the last box down, Daniel lifted his head. The way he looked at me, fear, grief, disbelief tangled together, might have broken me once, might have made me fold or soften or offer comfort he had not earned. Not anymore. Bonnie, he whispered, and for the first time all night my name sounded fragile in his mouth. Please, just tell me what I'm supposed to do. Tell me how to fix this. You can't, I said. He shook his head. That's not true. We can come back from this. People make mistakes. Couples fight. This doesn't have to be the end. It is, I replied softly. You ended it the moment you chose her over me. Her, he repeated, blinking. Kylie, I didn't choose her. She kissed me. It was stupid. I didn't. You didn't stop her, I said. That's the choice. His jaw trembled. He looked like he wanted to argue, but couldn't find a single word that held up under the weight of what had happened. Bonnie. His voice cracked again. I love you. No, I corrected quietly. You love being loved by me. There's a difference. He stared, stunned. Maybe the truth had never been spoken to him that plainly before. He dragged a shaky hand through his hair. You can't just throw away 5 years. I'm not, I said. I'm acknowledging the moment you threw them away. He exhaled in a broken rush, leaning his head back against the wall. God, I messed everything up. Yes, I said, you did. We let the words hang between us, heavy, irrefutable. Then the anger came back, the instinctive shield he always used to avoid sitting in discomfort. So that's it, he snapped. You're just done. No forgiveness, no second chance. What kind of person does that? The kind who finally learned to stop begging to be chosen. He stared at me as though I had grown into someone he didn't recognize, someone he wasn't prepared for. And maybe that was true, because the version of me he relied on, the one who softened at every apology, took responsibility for his mistakes, made excuses for his poor boundaries, she wasn't here anymore. She was gone. I turned toward the doorway, ready to step back inside and close the last chapter of our story. But as I moved, a buzz came from Daniel's phone, one he had tossed aside on the floor earlier in his panic. He glanced at it, distracted, and something in his expression shifted. Confusion, recognition, then dread. What I asked. He didn't answer. Another buzz. I stepped closer just as the screen lit up again. The sender's name punched through me like a cold knife. Tessa Morgan. Her message flashed bold and bright. Tessa, 8:52 p.m. Is she out yet? Did she finally break? Call me. The hallway tilted for a moment, the floor shifting beneath my feet. Daniel's face went pale. Bonnie, that's not, you don't understand. Oh, I said softly. I understand perfectly. I bent down, picked up the phone, and read the message again, just to taste the truth of it. Is she out yet? Did she finally break? This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't an accident at the bar. This wasn't drunken chaos. Tessa had orchestrated it, all of it. And Daniel, he let her. I handed the phone back to him. So this was planned. No, God, no, he said quickly. Not like that. Tessa, she's been weird for months. She's been pushing us to go out to loosen up. But I didn't know she'd manipulate. I finished for him. Engineer a situation where your ex-girlfriend would be draped all over you. Try to provoke a breakup. He flinched. I swear I didn't know, he whispered. But you let her get close, I said. You let her into the parts of our relationship that should have been private. You let her run commentary on my insecurities. You let her pick at the seams until something snapped. His eyes glistened. I didn't think she'd actually try to. You didn't think I cut in. Period. He opened his mouth, then closed it. The truth pinned him to the wall. It wasn't just the kiss, I said quietly. It was everything you let lead up to it. His shoulders sagged, a defeated, hollow slump. Bonnie, I swear I never meant to hurt you. But you did, I replied. And now you're dealing with the consequence. The hallway grew still. Daniel looked down at the boxes around him, at the life he'd assumed would always include me. His chest rose and fell uneven. Then he said something small, something almost childlike. What do I do now? Whatever you want, I said, as long as it's not with me. He inhaled a shaky breath, nodding slowly as if the reality was finally sinking into his bones. I opened my apartment door. The air inside felt different, quiet, but not empty. Calm. Mine. Daniel stared up at me like he was memorizing something he had never thought to appreciate before. Bonnie, he said softly, I'm sorry. I know, I said. I just don't care anymore. The final truth. His lips parted in shock, but no sound came out. I stood there for a second longer, looking at him. Really looking. At the boyish vulnerabilities. At the man he tried to pretend to be. At the person I no longer recognized. You'll be okay, I said gently. Someday you'll understand why. He lowered his head, a tear slipping down his cheek. Goodbye, he murmured. Goodbye, Daniel. I stepped back inside. Closed the door. The lock clicked into place, a soft, satisfying punctuation mark. There was no pounding, no shouting, no dramatic final plea. Only the sound of Daniel quietly gathering his boxes one by one and dragging them down the hallway until the echoes faded into nothing. I walked back to my kitchen. The scent of cooked chicken lingered. The rice was finished. Everything was in order. For the first time in years, the silence in my apartment wasn't something to fill.